All right, hello and welcome to this training. As you can see from the title, what we're going to be talking about today is how to change your life in 7 days. And as you can see from the overview, what we're going to be talking about more specifically is first, procrastination, awareness, planning, action, identity, commitment, execution, the review, and your action items for the day or the next few days. So without further ado, this might be a longer one. So let's just get started and talk about procrastination. Most people keep their life on pause and they wait for the right day, the perfect mood, or some external green light that never really comes. That habit of postponing is the silent killer of transformation because it gives you the illusion that you're preparing while you're really doing nothing. And the truth is that there is never a perfect moment. And the longer you stall, the heavier the inertia grows. And perfection is a trap. You think you're being wise by waiting until you feel ready. But readiness is a byproduct of action, not a prerequisite. Readiness arrives after you've already moved, not before. So if you don't start, the fear of starting only multiplies. And the moment you act, the fear dissolves because movement itself makes you stronger. Now, no champion, no creator, no revolutionary ever began with certainty. They began with motion and let clarity reveal itself through the process. Now, you've trained yourself to hide behind reasons such as, I'll start when the timing is better, I'll act when I feel inspired, I'll wait until I have more energy. And each of these is a lie disguised as logic. The truth is that you are just scared to leap. And so you decorate your hesitation with excuses. Now, if you strip your excuses down to their bones, what you'll find is fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of rejection. And instead of treating those fears as stop signs, you need to recognize them as the fuel. Fear is proof you're on the edge of something that actually matters to you. And so the cost of waiting is compounding paralysis. The longer you wait, the longer you hesitate, the harder it becomes to break free. Action is the only solvent for stagnation. Even small movement begins to untangle the knots in your mind, while stillness only tightens them further. So begin with the smallest possible action and don't overcomplicate. Open the document, pick up the phone, lace the shoes, write the first sentence. That first step shifts you from idle to alive. And the first step is never about scale. It's always just about direction. Once momentum kicks in, it drags bigger actions into your orbit. So think about the times in your life where a single decision spiraled into a cascade of change. That's how power is built. Not from one monumental effort, but from a chain of actions that are linked together by courage. And tomorrow is not really any safer than today. You think you're buying time by waiting, but time is buying you instead, charging interest on every hour that you waste. And the depth of delay shows up later as regret. Start now because later has a habit of turning into never, and later has a habit of never showing up. So recognize that doing nothing is not neutral. Stillness is not rest. It's really rot. Depression and doubt don't come from working too hard. They usually come from standing still for too long. And if you want to meet the devil, just don't do anything. You won't even have to go get him. He'll come to you. Too much empty space invites his voice. Fear, doubt, despair. But the moment you fill your life with action, whatever it is, he disappears because he can't breathe in the presence of movement. So keep yourself busy with the right battles. Work creates inspiration, not the other way around. Motion creates emotion, as Tony Robbins used to say. You don't wait for motivation, you summon it by doing the work. So think about when you felt most alive. It probably wasn't when you were lying in bed scrolling. It was when you were immersed in pursuit. Even if it was difficult, the more you move, the less room fear has to live inside you. It gets crowded out by momentum, drowned by purpose, and starved by action. Every day you have two paths: wait or act. Waiting gives you more of the same. Acting opens a door to the unknown. One leads to decay, the other leads to growth. And the decision is never about ability. It's always about courage. So stop pretending you're powerless, because every second you spend waiting, you're really making a decision. And that decision is to keep your life small. That's your choice, and it's costing you the future you say you want. Now, there's more power in actually coming to the realization that you don't want the future that you say you want, that you don't actually want it. At least then you're making a real choice. But don't be the type of person that says they want a certain future and then doesn't do anything for it, or just waits. The second you act, you regain control and you stop being a victim of circumstances and start being a creator of outcomes. And realize that no one is really coming to save you. Every second that passes is a second closer to the end. And there are two ways you can look at this. One is by telling yourself that so much time has passed and you're behind. So there's no need to really do anything. This is a logical fallacy, however, because depending on how old you are, you probably have 2, 3, or even 4 times as much time left, assuming you live a long, healthy life. So this is the other way to look at it. Now, your brain convinces you that you're behind and too much time has passed because it's tricking you into staying in the same place. It wants you to stay in the same place because it is afraid of change, and it is afraid of change because it is afraid of the effort it will take. And it is afraid of the effort it will take because the other side is unknown, and it is anxious of the unknown because it can't predict it. So reframe the anxiety of the unknown as excitement. Excitement and anxiety actually feel the same in our body. If you internalize this, you'll find yourself suddenly excited about the future and the unknown rather than worried about it. Excited about taking action and not knowing where it will lead. If you think about it, that is the beauty of life. Once you refuse to wait, the next step is to really figure out what exactly you're working with right now. You can't map a path forward if you don't know where you're standing, which means the next phase is about brutal clarity. So let's talk about awareness. So after you've decided to stop waiting, the next essential move is to really figure out where you actually stand. You can't plot a course if you don't know your starting point. And this is all about awareness. And awareness is not about judging yourself harshly. It's more so about holding up a mirror with enough courage to see the truth without filters or excuses. Now, most people skip this step because it's uncomfortable to confront their reality, but without it, every plan you make will rest on sand. And so awareness begins with brutal honesty. You can't really keep telling yourself that you'll get serious next month or that things will settle down soon. The habit of not looking into or lying to yourself about where you're really at is why progress feels impossible or out of reach. Nothing can be within reach if you can't see the thing clearly. So admit exactly what's working and exactly what isn't. The more precise you are, the faster you can actually pivot. And be honest. Ask yourself where you're at, what you've been avoiding, where you want to be, and what is actually holding you back. Answering those simple questions will give you a ton of clarity, and that simple clarity gives you an aim. Now, emotions can blur reality, but numbers always cut through the fog. Numbers are unemotional. So tracking your sleep, your income, your time usage, and even your energy levels will give you proof of what's actually happening, not just what you feel like is happening. A lot of people will find this step the most difficult to handle, but if you're done lying to yourself, you'll find it is the most liberating one too. Now, there are multiple things you can start tracking. When it comes to your health, you can track your health numbers such as sleep time, bedtime, wake-up time. You can track your current weight, the weight you lift at the gym, or other health markers. When we talk about wealth, you can track your wealth numbers, such as your monthly, quarterly, or yearly income, your expenses, your investments, etc. Now, with love, believe it or not, you can track certain things as well, your love numbers. This could be the number of new connections you've made, time spent with friends or family, the rating of your connections on a scale of 1 to 10. When it comes to yourself, you can track your self numbers, meaning, did you meditate? How long for? Did you pray? How long for? How many books you've read this week, month, quarter, or year? How long did you read for today in terms of minutes or hours? How many pages did you actually read? Rating your happiness on a scale of 1 to 10. Be creative here, because the moment you can turn the intangible into tangible and track a number related to it, the more you can actually improve it. What gets measured gets improved. Sometimes even just by the fact that you're actually measuring it. So once you have numbers, you've got a baseline, and from there, improvement is no longer abstract, it's measurable. Now, the data isn't meant to shame you, it's there to give you feedback, the same way a compass shows you whether you're heading north or spinning in circles. So start confronting the truth about your body, not the body you wish you had, not the one you had years ago, but the one you're living in right now. Health is the foundation on which everything else rests. Your energy, your focus, your resilience, even your confidence. So how do you actually feel when you wake up? Do you drag yourself out of bed, or do you get up with power? Your body's energy level is the most honest scoreboard of your habits. Audit your sleep, your food, your movement, and your recovery. If you're skipping meals, running on caffeine, or staying up past midnight scrolling, you're just sabotaging yourself. Be honest about it. And think beyond the next 6 months. If you keep living this way for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, for the rest of your life, where does it take you? Your health is the vehicle that carries you to every goal you'll ever have. Driving it into the ground means you'll never actually arrive. And when it comes to your wealth, money is energy in material form. It's not just about having a bigger bank account, it's about freedom. Freedom to choose your path, to say no to the wrong opportunities, and to build a life on your own terms. Waiting to figure it out later only deepens your dependency on other people's decisions. So look at your finances without flinching. How much did you make? How much did you keep? How much are you investing in your growth? Numbers never lie, and avoiding them won't make them kinder. So blaming your job, your boss, or the economy doesn't change the fact that you are the CEO of your own life. Taking responsibility doesn't mean it's your fault, but it does mean it's your job to fix it. And money is a tool, not the end goal. So if you want to stop waiting, you need to decide what kind of life you're building and how financial resources will serve that vision. Until you know why you want money, you'll always find ways to spend it without purpose or to never make it. Now, when it comes to love, too many people use loneliness or heartbreak as a reason to freeze. They wait for the right person to knock on their door or for circumstances to line up perfectly before they put themselves out there again. But connection doesn't come to the idle. It finds the active, those who are already moving, already becoming someone worth meeting. So waiting until you feel ready to love is a lie. Readiness comes from stepping into the arena, as we talked about earlier, risking rejection and allowing yourself to be seen. So send the message, make the call, show up for the people who already are in your life. Love grows from presence and investment, not from hesitation and distance. So if you keep waiting, what you're really doing is actually protecting yourself from being hurt again. But that same shield that blocks pain also blocks intimacy. Waiting may feel safe, but it slowly starves your heart. And when it comes to yourself, at the center of everything is your relationship with yourself. Stop waiting to love yourself until you've achieved more, earned more, or been validated by others. If you can't respect yourself now, you won't magically respect yourself later when you hit some milestone. Self-respect begins today in how you treat your body, how you talk to yourself, and how seriously you actually take your own life. And every time you choose to wait, you tell yourself that your future doesn't matter to act on. Every time you choose to start now, you declare to yourself that you are worthy of effort and progress. So stop waiting for life to happen. You are life. When you stop waiting, you start living. And when you start living, your sense of self transforms from someone who hesitates to someone who actually creates. And when you strip away the lies and take ownership, what is left is really a clear view of your position. You see your flaws without exaggeration, your strengths without arrogance, and your situation without distortion. That's the raw data you need to start plotting a path forward. Where are you actually starting from? What resources do you have right now? What skills are underdeveloped but salvageable? These aren't accusations, they're coordinates that you can follow. Without them, you'll just keep running in circles. Clarity is not about judging yourself as good or bad. It's about diagnosing the reality so you can actually apply the right medicine. You can't always see your own blind spots, so ask someone you trust to tell you what they notice. Yes, it might sting, but it's better to be cut by the truth than killed by denial. Think of feedback as a mirror that shows you the back of your head. You can't see it on your own, but you need to know what's there. And when you have the full picture, you can finally design actions that actually solve the problems instead of running from them. Ultimately, breaking the addiction to waiting is a decision you make in a single moment. It's the moment you say, I don't care if it's perfect, I don't care if I'm ready, I'm going anyway. That sentence alone can rewrite the course of your life if you actually commit to it fully. And the first taste of progress is addictive in the best possible way. The instant you prove to yourself that you can move without certainty, the need for perfect timing starts to dissolve. Each time you act despite hesitation, you build thicker skin, and what used to paralyze you becomes ordinary, and what once felt impossible starts to feel like the next obvious step. Now that you've decided to stop waiting, it's really time to look in the mirror. Where are you actually standing right now? What's the truth about your health, your wealth, your relationships, and your inner world? Before we move forward, we're going to put everything on the table and get painfully, powerfully clear. So let's talk about planning. So once you've stopped waiting and faced the truth about where you are, you need a blueprint. Change doesn't come from vague wishes, it comes from structured execution. Waking up one day saying, I want to change my life without a plan is like setting out to cross the ocean with no map, no compass, and no supplies. You'll drift, you'll get frustrated, and eventually you'll give up. Planning gives direction, it creates momentum, and it turns overwhelming goals into digestible actions. Every effective plan has 3 moving parts: what you need to learn, what you need to do, and how you're going to do it. Without all 3, your plan will collapse. So when it comes to learning, you need to know the skills, the knowledge, and the frameworks that you need to know, or you need to find out what they are. And they matter. If you don't know how to eat for your body, sell a product, or build a relationship, you'll keep slamming into the same walls. Your plan must include gaps in your knowledge that need filling. Now, after the learning is the doing, obviously. All the knowledge in the world means nothing if you're not actually applying it. Every skill has to be backed up with real practice, real reps, and real feedback. Plans fail when they're too big, too vague, or too intimidating. Breaking them into small, non-negotiable steps is how you protect yourself from burnout and paralysis. So, every journey of growth has 3 stages, and your plan needs to cycle through each. First, you acquire knowledge. Second, you apply it relentlessly. Finally, you merge the 2 into a hybrid synergy, where learning and doing are happening simultaneously. So first is the acquisition of knowledge. This is the stage where you read, listen, study, and absorb. But don't fall into the trap of being a professional learner who never leaves the classroom. Knowledge without action just feeds your ego. Once you learn, you implement. You don't need a perfect system, you just need consistent repetitions. 1,000 small actions will change you faster than one perfectly thought out strategy you never execute. You need 100 average days, not 100 perfect days. And finally is synergy. This is where things click. You learn while doing and you do while learning. You get feedback in real time, adjust on the fly, and your growth compounds because both sides feed each other. Now, the smartest plans don't attack everything at once. They identify the biggest domino, the one move that basically knocks down 10 other problems in the process. When you focus on that domino, you collapse resistance and accelerate results. Look for the single action that, if done consistently, will make most of your other obstacles basically irrelevant. For example, if you fix your sleep, your energy rises, your mood stabilizes, and your discipline strengthens. One domino, multiple wins. Now, there isn't just one big domino. There's multiple big dominoes, but the idea is to look for the multiple big dominoes, basically, that will, if you do them consistently, basically make any other action irrelevant. Or obstacle irrelevant. And once you know your domino or dominoes, hammer them daily. It becomes the centerpiece of your plan, the action you refuse to compromise on no matter what. A plan is worthless if it isn't clear. Vague intentions like I'll get healthier or I'll make more money are dead on arrival. You need specifics. I'll walk for 45 minutes every morning. I'll contact 10 prospects a day. I'll write 1 page daily. Things like this, things that are specific and actually measurable. Did you do them or not? The more precise the target, the easier it is to hit. So get granular. When exactly will you do it? Where will you be? How will you track it? Unclear plans lead to unclear action, and unclear action leads to no results. So clarity doesn't mean fantasy. Don't promise yourself you'll run a marathon next week if you really can't jog a mile. Anchor your plan in reality into physics and stretch it further as you grow. Now, planning should never become another form of procrastination. Too many people spend weeks outlining perfect systems and never take the first step. A plan is only alive if it launches you into motion immediately. So begin before you feel ready. The best time to test your plan is today, not after you've polished every detail. And the first version of your plan won't be perfect, and it doesn't need to be. Action gives you real-world feedback that no amount of preparation can match. Once you face reality, you'll be able to adjust the plan. A plan is not separate from your life. It has to live inside it. If your plan feels like a burden stacked on top of your already overloaded schedule, you'll abandon it. So the key is to weave it into your identity until it feels natural. Connect your plan to who you're becoming. When the actions actually feel like they belong to your future self, the resistance disappears. So build your plan in a way that you can maintain long term. So extreme bursts of effort without structure burn out quickly, while steady, integrated habits compound into permanent change. Now, once your plan is sketched out, the next step is really to start moving. Without action, your plan is just ink on paper. But once you set it in motion, it becomes the foundation of transformation. That's where the momentum starts to crush depression, silence fear, and drown out doubt. So let's talk about action. Now, A plan without movement is just daydreaming on paper. Execution is the moment where fantasy collides with reality and reveals what's real. Depression thrives in idleness, doubt thrives in stagnation, and fear grows in the cracks of stillness. But when you move, when you're immersed in pursuit, those shadows lose their grip. Momentum doesn't just carry you forward, it shields you from the heaviness that comes when you sit too long with nothing to do. Action is medicine, and the only side effect is progress. Depression rarely hits in the middle of movement. It creeps in during the empty hours when the mind circles itself endlessly. The more space you leave unoccupied, the more noise anxiety makes. Filling your days with forward action gives your mind less room to poison you. So think back to a time you were fully engaged, whether it was working out, building something, or locked into a project, or even working at your job. In those moments, sadness didn't have space to take root. Action occupied the terrain, and the terrain is your mind. Movement itself creates energy. It doesn't drain you, it generates fuel. Lethargy tells you to stay still, but the only cure for lethargy is movement. And if you want to meet the devil, just don't do anything. You won't even have to go looking for him. He'll come straight to you, whispering doubts, feeding fears, and convincing you that life is meaningless. Too much time, too much white space, too much not doing, too much drifting. That's when he enters. Stillness isn't peace when it's laced with avoidance. It's decay dressed up as rest. So fill your life with pursuit, or let darkness fill it for you. There is no neutral option. You don't need to launch into massive action to begin. What matters is just starting. The smallest consistent move carries more weight than the biggest move you never make. So a phone call, a page written, a 10-minute workout, all tiny, all powerful. They stack up faster than you think, and they build the confidence to take larger steps. So don't trick yourself into believing only big actions count. The truth is, small, steady moves create exponential results. The giant leaps you admire from others were built on foundations of quiet repetition. Consistency compounds. 10 tiny steps every day will outpace one giant step once a month. Always. Progress belongs to the steady. The person who can go through 100 average days will always win in comparison to the person that tries to have one perfect day or one perfect week. When you move, you stop worrying about inspiration and motivation. Those things become irrelevant. They show up after you act, not before. And by moving first, you summon the very forces you thought you needed in order to start. The longer you wait to execute, the heavier execution becomes. Thinking about an action often creates more resistance than the action itself. Do it fast before hesitation has the chance to actually poison your resolve. Strike while the thought is still fresh. Train yourself to act in seconds instead of days. The moment you think of the thing you should do, move on it, even the smallest version. That habit builds a reflex for progress. So if you want to start running, for example, put your shoes on and walk outside. You don't actually have to run. You don't even actually have to walk outside. You can just put on your shoes. That simple motion collapses the wall of resistance. Every time you shrink the gap between decision and movement, you weaken hesitation's grip on you. Action today multiplies in ways waiting never can. And waiting is linear decay. Movement is exponential growth. The opportunity cost of delay is invisible, but it's massive. A day of waiting compounds into a week into months, and suddenly years slip by. And not all actions are equal. Some are leverage points. When you hit them, they knock down dozens of other obstacles in their path. So identifying and executing those domino actions accelerates progress beyond imagination. So think about what one move will ripple across your life. Fix your sleep and energy, mood, discipline, and focus all rise. Though the daily habit of outreach and business and money, opportunity, and confidence all increase. Choose one domino or multiples and hammer them every day until they fall. And don't scatter your effort. Discipline is not about doing 1,000 things. It's about a few crucial things done relentlessly and consistently. And once the domino falls, momentum carries you forward. One win becomes the platform for 5 more. Suddenly, progress feels effortless, not because it is easy, but because inertia is now on your side. Momentum is on your side. Action will always meet friction. Fear, self-doubt, fatigue, external distractions will try to pull you off course. The mistake people make is assuming resistance is a signal to stop. It's not. Resistance is proof you're moving forward towards something meaningful. It's a sign that you need to continue. If an action scares you, that's the action that matters. Comfort never grows you. Resistance always does. Instead of seeing resistance as a block, see it as confirmation. You're in the right place, doing the right thing. Every time you push through resistance, you harden your will. What once felt unbearable soon feels normal, and normal becomes your new baseline. You won't eliminate resistance, but you can prepare for it. Create an environment that actually favors execution. Remove your distractions, set deadlines, keep tools within reach. The fewer obstacles between thought and action, the faster you'll move. If your phone is buzzing every 2 minutes, don't expect to write. If junk food is in the kitchen, don't expect to eat clean. Set yourself up so the right action is the easiest one, and create friction for the wrong actions. Routines exist to make action automatic, so if you decide from scratch every day whether to train, you'll burn your willpower, and you're most likely going to revert to the path of least resistance, which means not training. If training is scheduled, on the other hand, it becomes as normal as brushing your teeth. Now, the most powerful way to sustain action is to anchor it in who you believe you are. When you see yourself as someone who actually moves, someone who executes, someone who does, then action stops being effort and starts being automatic. Identity is what makes the hard things easy because they become natural extensions of who you are. So ask yourself, who is the type of person that does what I need to do? If you identify as that person, action stops being negotiable. It's just life. The moment you decide you're a runner, you don't try to run, you just run. The moment you decide you're disciplined, you don't force discipline, you embody it. You just are. Once action becomes your default mode, the question isn't whether you'll move, but who you'll become while moving. And that leads to the deeper layer of change, the reshaping of identity itself, the foundation that makes every action effortless over time. So let's talk about identity. Action gets you started, but identity keeps you going. Anyone can force themselves to grind for a week or two with sheer willpower, but unless who you are begins to shift, the weight of old habits will drag you back down. Now, the real game isn't about forcing behavior, it's about becoming the person for whom that behavior feels natural. When you shift identity, the struggle fades because what once felt like a fight now feels like second nature. Now, habits are fragile when they're built only on discipline. They snap under pressure, stress, or distraction. But when your habits are rooted in identity, they become unshakable. A runner doesn't debate whether to run, it's just what they do. Identity cuts deeper than goals or routines. Goals are about what you want, routines are about what you do, but identity is about who you are. That level of change rewires your life at the root instead of trimming leaves at the surface. So start by asking, what kind of person easily does the things that I struggle with? Instead of constantly pushing against resistance, you now begin to shape yourself into someone who doesn't experience that resistance in the same way. You design a self-image that carries you forward without constant force. If you want to eat healthy, don't just say, I'll try to stick to my diet. See yourself as an athlete. Athletes don't argue with themselves about junk food. They feed their bodies like machines that need premium fuel. If you want to build wealth, don't just say, I'll try to save. See yourself as an investor. Investors don't think twice about putting money into growth instead of draining it on impulse. You don't wait until you've achieved it to claim it. You step into it now, before the evidence, and let your actions catch up to your vision. Identity isn't only imagination though. It grows stronger every time you cast a vote for the person you want to become. Each action, no matter how small, is evidence. One workout is a vote for being fit. One deep conversation is a vote for being present. One disciplined decision with money is a vote for being financially powerful. Votes add up. You don't need a landslide every day. You just need a majority over time. The more consistent your actions, the more unshakable your identity becomes. And once the evidence stacks high enough, doubt disappears. You stop saying, I'm trying to be disciplined, and start saying, I am disciplined, because the proof is right in front of you. You are the proof. The hardest part of identity work is letting go of the old version of yourself though. So that version that has been with you for years and it's comfortable, even if it's destructive. But as long as you keep feeding it, you'll keep living under its shadow. Notice the language you use with yourself. Do you still call yourself lazy, unlucky, undisciplined, or broke? Those words are self-fulfilling prophecies and are anchors to an old identity. And you might not even be using them consciously. And don't just stop calling yourself those things. Start declaring who you are becoming, not what you're not anymore. Language leads thought. Thought leads behavior, and behavior locks an identity. And understand that identity shifts always feel fake at first. They always feel like a lie. That's normal. It's supposed to feel fake because you're leaving behind one reality and stepping into another that is not yet real. Keep repeating it. Keep living it, and eventually it becomes who you are. Now, identity is shaped not only by what you do, but by what surrounds you. Your environment either reinforces who you're becoming or drags you back into who you were. If you're trying to build a new identity while living in the old environment, you're basically swimming against a riptide. So surround yourself with those who embody the identity you're building. If you want to become fit, spend time around fit people. If you want to become wealthy, sit at tables where wealth is normal. Being around them pulls you up because you begin to normalize what once felt extraordinary. You start to copy their patterns naturally without forcing it. Identity transfer happens through proximity. And so if you don't have people like that around you, you can also surround yourself with them online. Now, thankfully, we have the internet, and the whole idea of social media, of YouTube, of Instagram, and so on, and of books, courses, coaching, and so on, is to basically be able to surround yourself with these kinds of people digitally, even if they're not physically around you. So identity is a long game. You don't become someone new overnight, but every day you act in alignment, the stronger the shift becomes. The problem isn't that identity change takes too long, it's that people quit too early, never giving it the time it needs to root. Give yourself permission to be in transition. The gap between who you are and who you're becoming is where the growth happens. Stay with it even when it feels slow, because identity doesn't reveal itself with fireworks. It grows quietly until one day it just feels like it's always been there. Now, professionals understand this truth. Peace of mind doesn't come from chasing it. It arrives as a byproduct of identity lived fully. Amateurs chase peace and never find it because their half-hearted efforts keep them restless. Professionals either win or lose, but they're at peace because they know they gave everything. That's the real payoff of identity alignment. Whether you succeed or fail in a moment, you remain whole because you acted in harmony with who you are. Once identity is secured, there's only one question left. Will you actually commit all the way? Because if you only half commit, even the strongest identity will weaken under pressure. What comes next is the point of no return. So let's talk about commitment. So everything you've built so far, from awareness, planning, action to identity, means absolutely nothing if you refuse to cross the final threshold. Now, that threshold is commitment. Most people live their entire lives in the twilight zone of half commitments, dabbling here and there, always keeping one foot in and one foot out. And that lukewarm way of living guarantees mediocrity because true change requires you to burn the safety net, lock the door behind you, and remove every exit from the path. Commitment is the multiplier that turns all your other efforts into something unbreakable. Half commitments rot you from the inside. You tell yourself you're trying, but you know you're not all in. And that knowledge eats away at your confidence because deep down, you know you're lying to yourself. It's either 100% or it's nothing. That's the way you should think about it. You're either in the game, playing with everything you have, or you're standing on the sidelines convincing yourself that you're sort of participating. Gay Hendricks put it perfectly when he wrote, 99% commitment is not possible. We are either 100% or not committed at all. I was amazed to discover this because I had made a lifestyle out of tepid commitments that turned out to be non-commitments. I was just conning myself that I was partly committed. I had adapted to the pain of early rejection with the decision, don't play. If I didn't play, I wouldn't have to face losing. And if I were forced to play, I could always play half-heartedly. If I lost, I could say it didn't matter because I wasn't trying. It took me many years to realize that I wasn't even in the game if I was not committed. My body might have been out on the field, but my soul was on the bench. Soulless play is worse than no play at all. This truth explains why so many people never break through. They convince themselves they're committed because they've made partial efforts, but partial effort is just disguised avoidance. The cost of half-heartedness is your own self-respect. Half commitment allows you to hide. If you lose, you can always say, I wasn't really trying. The irony is that half commitment is more painful than full commitment because you never get the rewards of going all in, but you always carry the guilt of knowing you could have done more. Now, pros live differently than amateurs because of commitment. Amateurs search for peace of mind by trying to play safely, but they never find it. The pros understand peace doesn't come from playing it safe. It comes from knowing they gave everything. If they win, they experience victory. If they lose, they still experience peace because they know they left nothing in reserve. Either way, they win internally. Now, amateurs distract themselves when they know they're not giving it all. They binge, they scroll, they escape, anything to avoid the truth of their half-hearted efforts. The pros don't need distractions because they've already given all they had. Even defeat doesn't haunt them because they know they've left it all on the field. Now, commitment demands clarity of destination. You're not just committing to effort, you're committing to a vision so vivid that it drags you forward when your willpower fails. Without vision, commitment fades because you can't see why you're suffering. Write down your ultimate vision in detail: the body you want, the relationships you crave, the wealth you're building, the character you're forging. Without specificity, you'll wander. And look across the dimensions of life: health, wealth, love, and self, and build a vision that integrates all of them. If you only commit to one area, the imbalance will eventually collapse your progress. And if you need help with this, make sure to book a call from the link below. Now, the more vivid your vision, the easier it is to commit. If you can see it in your mind, taste it, touch it, feel it, then the sacrifices feel lighter because you're not just giving something up, you're exchanging it for something greater. And look, commitment does cost you. You can't commit to everything at once. You must decide what matters most and ruthlessly cut everything else. People fail to commit because they're unwilling to kill off the distractions, comforts, and easy outs that drain their energy. But real commitment means saying no 1,000 times for every yes. Every commitment requires a trade. You trade comfort for growth, instant pleasure for long-term victory, and safety for impact. If you're unwilling to make those trades, you're not committed. You're still negotiating. And look at what you're actually willing to sacrifice. That's where your true commitment lies. Words don't prove it. Sacrifice does. Now, commitment isn't a feeling. It's not about being motivated or inspired. Commitment is a decision you've locked into regardless of mood, circumstance, or emotion. Discipline is the expression of that commitment in daily action. When you're committed, discipline stops being negotiable. It becomes automatic. You don't ask yourself if you feel like doing the work. You do the work because it's who you are now. Commitment doesn't show up in a single burst of intensity. It shows up in relentless repetition, day after day, rep after rep, action after action, until momentum makes the path inevitable. Now, the greatest reward of commitment isn't external achievement, it's internal peace. Like General Patton said, if a man has done his best, what else is there? That is the essence of commitment. You give your best without holding back, and no matter the outcome, you can stand tall because you know you didn't betray yourself. You stop second guessing, you stop wondering if you could have done more, and you live lighter because you know you left it all on the field. That level of integrity builds an unshakable core. You stop fearing outcomes because you trust your own effort. And the only thing left is to really reinforce every stage of this process, revisit the pillars, and create a simple, powerful way to review what you've learned and put it into action every single day. So let's talk about execution. So now you have the full framework. No more waiting. Assess where you are, build a plan, move into action, align your identity, and seal it all with commitment. Now it's time to put it into motion. You don't need 7 years. You don't even need 7 months. You can change your life in 7 days. Not completely, but enough to flip the switch and set a new trajectory. What follows is a day-by-day map rooted in everything you've learned so far to make the shift real. So on day 1, you will decide to stop waiting. Today is the death of delay. No more waiting for motivation. No more waiting for clarity. No more waiting for circumstances to line up. You just begin now. Write down everything you've been postponing. Circle the one thing you've been waiting on the most and attack it today. By the end of this day, you'll have proof that you no longer need perfect conditions to move. On day 2, you'll assess your reality. Today is about truth. Take inventory of the 4 life pillars: health, wealth, love, and self, and write down the raw, unfiltered facts of where you stand right now. In terms of health, how do you feel physically? What's your energy like? How consistent are you with training, sleep, and food? How much is in your account when it comes to wealth? How much comes in? How much goes out? And how much are you investing in yourself? Now, when it comes to love, what's the state of your relationships? Romantic, family, friendships? Do they energize you or do they drain you? When it comes to yourself, how do you speak to yourself? What standards do you hold yourself to? How much do you respect yourself in private? By the end of this day, you'll know exactly where you're standing, without illusions and without self-deception. Now, on day 3, you build the plan. Today, you map the path. Pick one domino action in each pillar that will unlock momentum everywhere else. When it comes to your health, it might be to sleep 8 hours, train, walk, hydrate, simple but non-negotiable. When it comes to your wealth, do one income-producing activity every single day. It could be sales, it could be outreach, it could be building assets. When it comes to love, connect meaningfully with one person daily. It could be your partner, a family member, or a new connection. When it comes to yourself, spend 20 minutes journaling, meditating, or reading something that stretches your mind. By the end of this day, you'll have a focused plan with clear actions that collapse resistance. Now, on day 4, you start taking action. You put the plan into motion without any hesitation. This is not about perfection, it's about doing. You're proving to yourself that you can follow through. So keep action small but consistent. Don't aim for massive wins in one day. Instead, stack small wins that compound. And write down everything you accomplished today. Your brain needs evidence to believe the new story you're creating, the new identity you're building. Now, on day 5, you embody the new identity. Today, you stop trying and you start being. You declare who you are and act from that place. You're not someone forcing yourself to work out. You're an athlete. You're not someone trying to get better with money. You're an investor. So write out, I am the type of person who, and then fill it in. Then prove it with action today. Adjust your space to reflect the identity. Clean your desk. Prep your meals. Set up your calendar. Whatever it takes to reinforce that identity. Your environment should reinforce your new self. On day 6, you eliminate the escape routes. Today is about burning the bridges back to your old life. Remove every easy exit. No more half efforts. No more I'll see how it goes. You're all in. Identify the distractions, vices, or safety nets that let you slip and cut at least one today. By removing the escape hatches, you give yourself no option but to move forward. This is where real commitment is created. And finally, on day 7, you cement the standard. Look back over the week. You've stopped waiting, you've assessed, you've planned, you've acted, you've shifted, and you've committed. Now you lock it in. Write down your non-negotiables moving forward, the habits, the standards, the actions that define your new life. And then choose one domino action per pillar and lock it in as daily practice. This is no longer a 7-day challenge. This is your new life. By the end of this day, you're no longer experimenting. You've proven you can change in a week, and you now carry the blueprint for changing across months and years. Once you've lived these 7 days fully, you'll realize how quickly momentum builds when you move with urgency and actual alignment. The 7-day challenge might be over, but the game has just begun. The same system that flipped your life in 7 days is the same system that will transform it over 7 months and 7 years if you keep applying it. So with that being said, let's go over the review. We talked about procrastination, we talked about awareness, planning, action, identity, commitment, execution. We're at the review right now. And finally, your action items for the day or the next few days. First, choose right now that hesitation is over. You don't get to wait for better timing anymore. You decide today that you're all in and lock that decision in writing. Then pick one domino action in each pillar: health, wealth, love, and self, and execute it daily for the next 7 days. Don't complicate it. Don't negotiate with yourself. Just do it. And then finally, burn the bridges. Remove your escape routes. Say it out loud. I am 100% committed. Then prove it through action until your results leave no room for doubt. With that being said, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like. Make sure to subscribe for more. Drop a comment below to let me know what you would like to see. And again, if you want the free document, make sure you join the free community from the first link in the description. And if you want to work with me personally on implementing all of these things, then book a call from the second link in the description. With that being said, again, thank you for being here, and I'm going to see you in the next one.